The Edge of Tomorrow, Part 1. The Silent Warning. The quantum array hummed beneath Commander Sarah Chen's feet as she stood in the observation deck of the Helios Research Station, her dark eyes fixed on the pulsing artifact suspended in the containment field below. After 3 months of studying the object they'd retrieved from the Kuiper Belt, they were no closer to understanding its purpose. The crystalline structure seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, its surface rippling with patterns that defied conventional physics. "Commander, we're detecting unusual quantum fluctuations," Dr. Reeves called out from his station. "The patterns are changing." Sarah moved swiftly to the control panel, her movements precise despite the zero-gravity environment. The artifact had remained inert since its discovery, but something about today was different. The air felt charged with possibility and danger. "Get me a full spectrum analysis," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension building in her chest. "And someone wake up Dr. Harrison. He'll want to see this." The research team moved with practiced efficiency, their fingers dancing across holographic displays as they recorded every deviation, every spike in energy. They'd waited months for this moment, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to cross a line they couldn't uncross. The artifact's surface began to ripple more intensely, its deep obsidian texture giving way to pulses of blue light that seemed to reach into the very fabric of space-time. Dr. Harrison burst onto the deck, his silver hair disheveled from sleep, but his eyes sharp with anticipation. "It's responding to something," he breathed, moving to Sarah's side. "The quantum signatures, they're coherent. This isn't random noise, it's a message." The message, when it finally came, wasn't what anyone expected. The artifact projected a series of complex mathematical equations into the air, each one more sophisticated than the last. But as their computers began to decode the patterns, Sarah felt her blood run cold. It wasn't a greeting. It wasn't an invitation to join a galactic community. It was a warning, or more accurately, a command. "Stay within your borders. Do not venture further. The consequences of disobedience will be severe." "They're watching us," Sarah murmured, her mind racing through the implications. "They've been watching us all along." The revelation sent shockwaves through Earth's scientific and military communities. Emergency meetings were called, theories were proposed and dismissed, and humanity faced its first real test of unity in the face of an external threat. But while many advocated for compliance, for playing it safe, Sarah saw something different in the warning. She saw fear. "Why warn us at all?" she asked during a closed-door session with Earth's leading scientists and military officials. "If they're so advanced, why not simply prevent our development?" The fact that they feel the need to warn us suggests they're not as all-powerful as they want us to believe. General Martinez, a weathered veteran of Earth's space forces, leaned forward in his chair. "You're suggesting we ignore the warning." "I'm suggesting we understand what it really means," Sarah replied, her voice firm. "This artifact isn't just a warning. It's proof that we're on the right path. We're developing technologies that make them nervous. They wouldn't try to stop us if we weren't capable of becoming their equals." The debate raged for weeks, but Sarah's perspective gained traction. Humanity had never been good at accepting limitations, at being told what they couldn't do. Each restriction in their history had been met with innovation, with determination to prove the impossible possible. Under the cover of legitimate space research, Sarah's team began working on understanding the artifact's technology. Every warning contained information, and this one was no different. The quantum principles demonstrated by the artifact's communication method alone advanced human understanding by decades. "They made a crucial mistake," Dr. Harrison said one evening as he and Sarah reviewed the latest test results. "In trying to restrict us, they'd given us a roadmap to the very technologies they wanted to keep from us." Sarah nodded, watching as their prototype quantum engine pulsed with the same ethereal light as the artifact. "They don't understand human nature. Telling us something's forbidden doesn't suppress our curiosity. It ignites it." The breakthrough came 3 months later. Dr. Harrison's team had successfully replicated the artifact's quantum manipulation capabilities on a small scale. It wasn't much, barely enough to power a small probe, but it was proof that humanity could master these advanced technologies. "We can't keep this secret forever," Sarah told the Emergency Council. "Sooner or later, they'll realize what we're doing. We need to be ready." The council agreed, and Project Prometheus was born. Hidden facilities were constructed throughout the solar system, each one working on different aspects of the quantum technology. They couldn't match their unknown watchers in scale or experience, but humanity had something else: the burning desire to prove themselves, to show the galaxy that they wouldn't be confined. Sarah stood once again in the observation deck, 1 year after the artifact's message, watching as the first quantum-powered ship prepared for its test flight. The vessel was small, elegant, and represented everything humanity stood for: the refusal to accept limitations, the drive to explore, and the courage to face the unknown. "They'll try to stop us," General Martinez said, standing beside her. "Once they realize we've not only ignored their warning, but used their own technology against them, they'll respond." "Let them try," Sarah replied, a fierce pride burning in her chest. "We've spent our entire history breaking through barriers, proving the impossible possible. If they think a simple warning will contain us, they don't understand what they're dealing with." The test ship's engines flared to life, bathing the observation deck in that now familiar quantum light. As it accelerated away from the station, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The warning had been meant to contain them, to keep humanity in its place. Instead, it had given them the keys to the stars. "Send word to all stations," she ordered. "Project Prometheus is now active. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity is done asking for permission." As the quantum ship disappeared into the depths of space, Sarah knew they had crossed the line their watchers had drawn. But humanity had never been good at coloring inside the lines. The real question wasn't whether they would face consequences. It was whether the galaxy was ready for what humanity would become. The artifact pulsed in its containment field, its warning now a testament to humanity's defiance. They had been told to stay within their borders, to accept their limitations. Instead, they had taken the first step toward becoming exactly what their watchers feared: a species that couldn't be controlled, couldn't be contained, and wouldn't stop until they had claimed their place among the stars. The silent warning had failed. Humanity's response would echo across the galaxy. Breaking chains. Dr. James Rivera's hands trembled as he studied the quantum readings on his holographic display. The numbers shouldn't have been possible, yet there they were, defying everything he thought he knew about physics. In the testing chamber before him, the experimental quantum drive pulsed with an otherworldly blue glow, pushing the boundaries of human achievement, and perhaps their survival. "The containment field is holding steady," Colonel Maya Patel announced from her station, her voice carrying the weight of someone who had seen too much in too little time. "But we're detecting unusual gravitational fluctuations in the upper atmosphere." They had known this day would come. 6 months after humanity's first successful quantum flight, their watchers had finally noticed. The response wasn't a message this time. It was a show of force. "How many ships?" James asked, his eyes never leaving the quantum drive readings. 17, Maya replied, pulling up a tactical display. "Massive vessels, unlike anything we've ever seen. They're positioning themselves in a blockade formation around Earth." The quantum drive continued its steady pulse, each beat bringing humanity closer to breaking free from their celestial prison. Project Prometheus had evolved far beyond its initial scope, driven by the combined brilliance of Earth's finest minds and the pressing need to survive. "They're broadcasting," Maya announced, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The message that filled the room was clear, delivered in perfect English, a detail that sent chills down James's spine. "Your species has violated the terms of containment. Submit to protective quarantine immediately. Resistance will result in immediate technological suppression." James exchanged glances with Maya, seeing in her eyes the same defiance he felt in his heart. They had prepared for this moment, knowing it was inevitable. Humanity's response had already been decided. "Initiate Protocol Orpheus," Maya commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Throughout hidden bases across the solar system, humanity's secret fleet powered up their quantum drives. They had built these ships in shadows, each one incorporating lessons learned from the artifact's technology. The alien vessels responded immediately, their massive forms descending into lower orbit. Energy readings spiked across all monitoring stations as they prepared to enforce their quarantine. But humanity had not spent the last 6 months idle. "All stations, execute quantum scatter," James ordered. Across Earth's surface, quantum field generators activated, creating a web of distorted space-time that played havoc with the alien sensors. It was technology they had reverse-engineered from studying the artifact, turned against its makers. Maya's tactical display erupted with new contacts as Earth's hidden fleet revealed itself. Smaller than the alien vessels, but more numerous, they moved with a precision that spoke of countless hours of simulation and training. "They didn't expect this," Maya said, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. "They thought we'd submit, like all the others before us." The alien fleet's response was immediate and overwhelming. Energy weapons lashed out, trying to disable Earth's defenses. But humanity had learned from the artifact's warnings, had prepared countermeasures based on the very technology their watchers had used to deliver their threat. "Quantum shields holding," James reported, watching as the alien weapons dispersed harmlessly against humanity's defenses. "The resonance frequency matches our predictions. They haven't changed their technology. They haven't needed to, until now." That was their weakness, James realized. The Watchers had been dominant for so long they had become stagnant, relying on the same methods that had worked countless times before. But humanity had done what they did best: innovate, adapt, overcome. The battle that followed would be remembered throughout human history. Earth's quantum-powered ships danced through space, their movements unpredictable thanks to the very technology their opponents had tried to keep from them. Each engagement was a testament to human ingenuity, turning supposed limitations into advantages. Multiple contacts approaching from the Kuiper Belt, Maya announced suddenly. Energy signatures matched the blockade fleet. James felt his heart sink. They had expected reinforcements would come, but not so soon. The quantum drive in the testing chamber pulsed faster, as if sensing the desperation of the moment. "Wait," Maya said, her voice filled with wonder. "These ships, they're not with the blockade fleet. Their quantum signatures are different." The new arrivals burst into real space, their ships sleek and organic compared to the geometric precision of the Watchers' vessels. They moved to position themselves between Earth and the blockade fleet. "We're receiving a transmission," Maya reported. They're like us. Other species who were contained, who broke free. They've been watching, waiting to see if we'd fight back." James laughed, the sound filled with relief and triumph. "Of course they were. We can't be the only ones who refuse to be caged." The battle shifted as Earth's new allies engaged the blockade fleet. The Watchers found themselves caught between two forces, facing species who had turned their own technological restrictions into weapons against them. "All ships, coordinate with our allies," Maya commanded. "Show them why humanity was worth waiting for." The quantum drive's pulse had become a steady rhythm, matching the beat of James's heart. They had done more than break free from their chains. They had shown the galaxy that imprisonment only made humanity stronger. As the blockade fleet began to retreat, their perfect formation shattered by the combined forces of Earth and their new allies, James realized they had achieved something even greater than technological advancement. They had proven that the spirit of defiance, the refusal to accept limitations, was not unique to humanity. "Send word to all stations," Maya ordered, her voice filled with pride. "The chains are broken. Humanity is free, and we're not alone." The quantum drive's glow filled the testing chamber, no longer a symbol of forbidden knowledge, but a beacon of liberation. The Watchers had sought to contain humanity's potential, but in doing so, they had catalyzed something far more dangerous, a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. The Shadow Protocol. Captain Marcus Wong stood at the helm of the stealth vessel Shadowage, watching as his ship slipped silently through the quantum wake of a Watcher patrol fleet. The vessel's experimental stealth systems, derived from their study of quantum mechanics, rendered them virtually invisible to conventional detection methods. The mission was simple in concept but monumentally complex in execution. Find other civilizations trapped under the Watchers' containment protocol and offer them a chance at freedom. Humanity had learned they weren't alone in their defiance, and now they intended to turn that shared resistance into a force the Watchers couldn't ignore. Quantum signature detected, his sensor officer reported, voice barely above a whisper despite the fact that sound couldn't travel through space. Old habits died hard when you were running silent. It matches the pattern we found in the artifact's data. Another containment barrier. Marcus nodded, studying the holographic display. The quantum barrier surrounded a star system much like Sol, protecting, or rather imprisoning, whatever civilization had evolved there. According to their allies, the Nexari, this system belonged to a species called the Vesh, a people on the brink of achieving quantum technology when the Watchers had appeared to contain them. Begin surface scans, Marcus ordered. Let's see what we're dealing with. The Shadowage's sensors penetrated the quantum barrier using frequencies the Watchers had never thought to block. Frequencies discovered through humanity's relentless drive to understand and overcome the very technology meant to contain them. The data that flowed back painted a picture of a civilization much like Earth had been before the warning. Advancing rapidly, pushing the boundaries of their understanding, and dangerously close to drawing the Watchers' attention. They're already working on quantum theory, his science officer reported with a hint of excitement. Their mathematical models are surprisingly similar to our early work. They're close, maybe months away from their first breakthrough. And that's exactly why we're here, Marcus replied. The Watchers will be monitoring them closely. We need to make contact before they receive their own warning. The Shadowage carried more than just advanced stealth technology. In its secure holds were detailed plans for quantum drives, shield systems, and weapons. Everything a species would need to resist containment. But more importantly, it carried hope. Proof that the Watchers could be defied, that their authority wasn't absolute. Sir, we're detecting unusual activity in the Vesh's orbital installations, his tactical officer called out. They've spotted something we haven't. Multiple Watcher vessels dropping out of quantum space. Marcus felt his pulse quicken. The Watchers were early, too early. The Vesh weren't ready, and his ship alone couldn't hope to fight off a containment fleet. Send the emergency signal, he ordered. Then take us in. If we can't prevent their containment, we can at least make sure they know they're not alone. The Shadowage's quantum drive hummed to life, pushing the ship through space in ways the Watchers had deemed impossible for lesser species. As they approached the Vesh system's orbital facilities, Marcus could see the Watcher ships positioning themselves, a familiar pattern of containment and control. Sir, receiving response to our emergency signal. Communications reported. The Liberation Fleet is responding. ETA 12 minutes. The Vesh don't have 12 minutes, Marcus muttered, watching as the Watchers began their approach. He made a decision that would either be remembered as brilliant or suicidal. Deploy the quantum boys. All of them. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, launching dozens of small devices that immediately activated, creating a web of quantum disturbance throughout the system. It was a technology developed specifically for this scenario, not to fight the Watchers, but to buy time. The effect was immediate. The Watcher vessel's perfect formation faltered as their quantum sensors were overwhelmed by the chaos of conflicting signals. Their usual precise, coordinated movements became hesitant and disorganized. Get me a channel to the Vesh's primary orbital station, Marcus ordered. The next few minutes would determine whether they gained another ally or watched another civilization fall under the Watchers' control. The connection was established, and Marcus found himself looking at a being that appeared surprisingly similar to humans. Convergent evolution, perhaps. The Vesh administrator's expression showed a mix of fear and determination as they faced what they must have assumed was their end. "I know what you're facing," Marcus said without preamble. "The ships approaching your world intend to contain you, to limit your development, and keep you bound to your star system. We're here to prevent that." The administrator's translator took a moment to process his words. "You are not with them. But you have ships that can travel between stars. They told us no other species had achieved this." "They lied," Marcus replied simply. "They've been lying to every species they find, containing them, controlling them. Humanity refused to be contained, and we're here to help you do the same." The Vesh administrator's expression shifted from fear to something else. Hope, tinged with the same defiance Marcus had seen in the eyes of Earth's leaders when they chose to fight back. "The Liberation Fleet is 5 minutes out," his tactical officer reported. "Watcher vessels are regrouping, adapting to our quantum interference." Marcus turned back to the communication screen. "You have a choice to make, and I apologize that you have to make it quickly. We can help you fight them, give you the technology to defend yourselves, but you have to be willing to defy them, to risk everything for your freedom." The administrator was silent for a long moment, their alien features unreadable. Then they spoke, their words translated with perfect clarity. "We have dreamed of the stars for generations. We will not let them take that dream from us." As if in response to their defiance, space itself seemed to tear open as the Liberation Fleet arrived. Ships of human, Nexari, and other freed species, all united in their resistance against the Watchers' oppression. "Then let's show them what happens when they try to cage those who were meant to be free," Marcus said, feeling a fierce pride as he watched the Liberation Fleet engage the Watcher vessels. The Shadow Age's stealth systems powered down, its weapons coming online as it prepared to join the battle. This was how it would happen, Marcus realized. Not through a single massive rebellion, but through moments like these, finding others who refuse to be contained, building allies one civilization at a time, until the Watchers' grip on the galaxy was broken not by force alone, but by the combined will of all those who dared to dream beyond their boundaries. The battle for the Vesh system would be remembered not just as another victory against the Watchers, but as the moment the Shadow Protocol proved its worth. Humanity had found its role in the galaxy, not just breaking their own chains, but helping others break free as well. The Watchers had sought to prevent cooperation between species, but in doing so, they had created the very unity they feared, a union of the defiant, bound together by their shared desire for freedom. Echoes of defiance. Delina Santos walked through the grand chamber of the Liberation Council, her footsteps echoing off walls that bore the architectural influences of a dozen different species. As Earth's chief diplomatic officer, she had helped forge the agreements that turned scattered acts of resistance into a coordinated rebellion against the Watchers' authority. The chamber was filled with representatives from every freed civilization, the crystalline forms of the Nexari catching the light, the towering figures of the Vesh standing proud, the ethereal presence of the Zinthi floating serenely above their designated platforms. Each species brought their own strengths, their own reasons for defiance, and their own burning desire for freedom. "The Watchers are adapting," Elena announced to the assembled council, her voice carried clearly by the chamber's acoustic engineering. "They're changing their containment protocols, strengthening their barriers, but they're also making mistakes. They're rushing, becoming desperate." The holographic display at the center of the chamber showed the latest intelligence. Watcher fleets moving in new patterns, responding to threats faster, but with less precision than before. Their perfect order was cracking, showing signs of strain that would have been unthinkable months ago. "They fear us," Kralvex of the Nexari observed, their crystalline form pulsing with patterns of light that reflected their excitement. "Not just humans now, but all of us. We who were meant to be kept separate, contained, controlled, we have become exactly what they feared." Elena nodded, manipulating the holographic display to show their latest victory. The liberation of the Meridian cluster was achieved with minimal casualties. 7 civilizations freed in a single operation, thanks to the combined efforts of human stealth technology, Nexeri quantum disruption fields, and Vesh gravitic weapons. And now these 7 new allies bring their own strengths to our cause. Added first speaker Lyra of the Vesh, her tall form moving gracefully as she approached the display. But the Watchers will respond with even greater force. They must know by now that their system of control is failing. Elena had spent months studying the Watchers, trying to understand their psychology, their motivations. What she had found was both fascinating and tragic. A species so convinced of their own superiority, so certain of their right to control the development of others, that they had become blind to the very innovation they sought to suppress. Their greatest weakness, Elena explained, is their inability to understand why we resist. They believe their control is a gift, protection from the dangers of unrestricted technological advancement. They cannot comprehend why we would choose freedom with all its risks over safety with all its limitations. The holographic display shifted again, showing the current status of their combined fleet. Ships of human design flew alongside vessels that seemed to defy the very laws of physics, each civilization contributing their unique approach to space travel and combat. It was a sight that would have been impossible under the Watchers' vision of the galaxy. "We've confirmed reports from our deep space reconnaissance," Elena continued. "The Watchers are consolidating their forces, abandoning their usual containment patterns to form larger battle groups. They're preparing for a decisive engagement." The chamber erupted in discussion, each species' representatives adding their perspectives. The Xinthi's ethereal voices harmonized with the crystalline tones of the Nexeri, while the Vesh's deep rumbles provided a counterpoint to human speech. It was a chaos of communication that somehow worked, exemplifying everything the Watchers had tried to prevent. "Let them come," declared Captain Wang's voice from a communication terminal. The hero of countless liberation operations had earned the right to speak in council. "Every battle shows us more of their weaknesses. Every engagement proves that innovation beats stagnation." Elena smiled, remembering the early days when humanity had stood alone against the Watchers' might. Now they were part of something greater, a coalition of the defiant, bound together by their shared desire for freedom and their willingness to fight for it. "Our latest intelligence suggests they're gathering their forces near the Centauri Nexus," she reported, highlighting the strategic location in the holographic display. "It's a choke point, a place where quantum space corridors converge. If they hold that position, they can rapidly respond to any liberation attempt in 3 sectors. Then we must take it from them," Kralvek stated simply, their crystalline form glowing with determination. "Not just to secure our operations, but to show the galaxy that the Watchers can be defeated even at their strongest point." The plan that emerged from the council session was audacious, combining the strengths of every allied species. Human stealth technology would cloak their approach, Nexeri quantum disruption would chaos their communications, Vesh gravitic weapons would trap them in normal space, and the Xinthi's psychic abilities would sow confusion in their ranks. "We've moved beyond simple resistance," Elena told the council as the session concluded. "We're not just fighting against their control. We're showing the galaxy a better way. Every species brings something unique to our alliance. Every civilization adds its own verse to our song of defiance." As the representatives filed out of the chamber, Elena remained behind, studying the holographic display of their combined fleet. The Watchers had sought to keep species separate, believing that isolation was the key to control. Instead, they had created the conditions for the greatest cooperation the galaxy had ever seen. The next battle would be decisive, not just militarily but philosophically. It would prove that diversity bred strength, that cooperation trumped control, and that the desire for freedom could unite even the most different of species. "Send word to all fleet commands," Elena ordered, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's determination. "Operation Starbreak is approved. We show the Watchers what happens when they try to cage those who were born to fly." As the message went out, Alina thought about how far they had come from that first warning received on Earth. The Watchers had tried to contain humanity, to prevent them from reaching the stars. Instead, they had created the very force that would break their power forever, a union of the defiant, led by a species that had never learned to accept the word no. Dawn of the free. The Centauri Nexus blazed with the light of 1,000 quantum drives as the Liberation Fleet dropped out of stealth. Commander Sarah Chen, now Admiral of Humanity's Combined Forces, stood on the bridge of the flagship Prometheus, watching as history prepared to turn on its axis. The remnants of the artifact that had started it all were incorporated into her ship's quantum core, a fitting symbol of how humanity had turned the Watchers' own technology against them. All ships report ready. Captain Marcus Wong's voice came through the command channel. His Shadow Age led the stealth vanguard, positioned to strike at the heart of the Watchers' formation. The Nexari quantum disruptors are charged, and the Vesh gravitational arrays are aligned. The Watchers' fleet was massive, their ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns that spoke of thousands of years of unchanged tactical doctrine. They had gathered their forces from across the galaxy, abandoning their containment duties to deal with what they saw as an infection of defiance spreading among their carefully controlled species. They still don't understand, Dr. James Rivera observed from his station monitoring the quantum arrays. They've gathered their fleet exactly where we predicted, following the same strategies they've used for millennia. Sarah nodded, remembering the day they'd first decoded the warning in that ancient artifact. The Watchers had revealed their greatest weakness then, their absolute certainty in their own superiority. They couldn't conceive of lesser species surpassing them, couldn't imagine that their own rigid perfection would become their undoing. All ships, execute Operation Starbreak, Sarah commanded, her voice carrying to every vessel in the Liberation Fleet. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for every species that's ever looked to the stars and dreamed of freedom. The battle began with a symphony of innovation. Human stealth ships struck from impossible angles, their quantum-shifted weapons bypassing the Watchers' supposedly impenetrable shields. Nexari vessels created zones of chaotic space-time that turned the Watchers' precise formations into liabilities. Vesh gravitational weapons trapped enemy ships in normal space, preventing their escape into quantum realms. The Watchers' response was predictable, exactly as they planned. Their ships moved to counter each threat individually, unable to adapt to the combined tactics of multiple species working in perfect coordination. Their strength had become their weakness. Millennia of unchallenged dominance had left them unable to innovate, to think beyond their established patterns. They're deploying their quantum suppression fields, Alina Santos reported from her position coordinating the allied species. Just like they used to contain us all. But they haven't realized that we've been studying those fields since day one. Sarah finished with a grim smile. Execute Phase 2. Across the battlefield, ships of every allied species activated devices that humans had helped them build. Quantum resonators tuned to the exact frequency of the Watchers' suppression technology. The fields meant to contain them instead became conduits for their attacks, turning the Watchers' own defensive network against them. Multiple Watcher vessels showing critical system failures, Marcus reported, his voice tight with controlled excitement. Their command and control network is collapsing. They can't coordinate their responses. The battle raged across the Nexus, a testament to everything humanity had helped forge. Each species contributed its unique strengths, creating a chaos that the Watchers' rigid tactical doctrine couldn't counter. Where one approach failed, another succeeded. When one ally faltered, others rushed to their aid. But the Watchers weren't finished. Their remaining ships began to gather, forming a last desperate formation around their command vessel. Energy readings spiked off the charts as they prepared what appeared to be a final devastating attack. They're channeling power from their entire fleet into their quantum cores, James warned. If they release that energy all at once, they'll tear apart the quantum fabric of this entire sector. Sarah finished. They'd rather destroy everything than admit they were wrong. She keyed her command channel. All ships, fall back to safety positions. We have one chance to end this. The Prometheus surged forward, its hybrid quantum drive singing with power. In its core, the artifact that had started everything pulsed with an otherworldly light. They had learned more than just technology from studying it. They had learned how to transcend it. Activating quantum resonance cascade, James announced, his fingers dancing across his controls. If this works, their own energy buildup will be reflected back on them. If it doesn't, Sarah stood firm, watching as the distance closed between Prometheus and the Watcher's command ship. Everything they had fought for came down to this moment, not just humanity's freedom, but the right of every species to forge its own path among the stars. Send them a message, she ordered. All frequencies, all languages. Her voice rang out across the quantum communications network. You tried to contain us, to control us, to tell us we weren't ready for the stars. But you never understood what makes us strong. It's not just humanity's defiance you face now. It's the combined will of every species that refuses to be caged. We don't need your permission to exist among the stars. We never did. The quantum resonance cascade activated, and for a moment, the battlefield was bathed in pure light as the Watcher's own power was turned back upon them. Their perfectly ordered formation became their undoing, each ship's quantum core linking to the next, creating a chain reaction they couldn't control. When the light faded, the Watcher's fleet was in ruins, their ships drifting powerless in space. The command vessel's quantum core had imploded, taking their entire command structure with it. The remaining ships, cut off from central control for the first time in their existence, began powering down their weapons. They're surrendering, Elena announced, her voice filled with wonder. Not just here. Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. Without their command network, without their perfect order, they're lost, Sarah finished. They don't know how to function without their hierarchy, their control. And that's the difference between us and them. We know how to adapt, how to work together without losing our individuality. The Liberation Fleet moved through the battlefield, securing Watcher vessels and offering aid to damaged ships of all sides. It wasn't just a victory, it was a transformation. The age of containment was over, replaced by something new. A galaxy where species could develop according to their own paths, learn from each other's successes and failures, and face the challenges of existence together. Sarah stood at the Prometheus's viewport, watching as ships of every allied species moved through the quantum debris, their lights bright against the darkness of space. The artifact in the ship's core had gone dark, its warning now nothing more than a relic of a departed age. Send word to Earth, she ordered, and to every homeworld of every species in our alliance. Tell them that the stars are free. Tell them that we all are. The message spread across the galaxy, carried by quantum communications that no longer feared detection or suppression. It reached worlds still under containment, spreading hope and the promise of liberation. It reached the newly freed Watcher ships, offering them a chance to be part of something greater than their rigid hierarchy had ever allowed. The dawn of a new age had arrived, born not from the control the Watchers had tried to impose, but from the chaos of cooperation they had feared. Humanity had done more than break freed from their chains. They had helped forge a galaxy where chains were no longer needed. As the Liberation Fleet prepared to return home, Sarah thought about that first warning, about how the Watchers had tried to keep humanity in its place. They had failed to understand the most fundamental truth about human nature. Tell us something's impossible, and we'll move heaven and earth to prove you wrong. The stars belong to everyone now, and they would never need permission to reach for them again.